Grandson of Right Thought. Welcome to the School of Marvelous Light. Remember when Christ said, I will not leave you comfortless? What do you think he meant when he said that? I will not leave you comfortless. You will always have a comfort for every circumstance that you're going through. Because remember, he told you, in this life you shall have tribulation. You can consider tribulation to be turbulence. When you're flying in a plane and it gets kind of rocky, and the first time you're on a plane, it's kind of strange when you first feel turbulence. You're like, how can this be? I'm up in the air just floating. It doesn't look like I'm moving the way it feels like I'm moving. You see? Turbulence. But once you get past those little bumps in the road, then you see, wait a minute, I'm all good. I'm still flying. I'm not going to crash. I'm not going to die. There's no need to panic. And that's the same thing that Christ told you about your life. Fear not. Don't panic. Be of good cheer. That's the voice on the intercom that comes on when the turbulence hits the plane. Because when you haven't flown before, turbulence is new to you. It's unexpected. It's an unexpected feeling. And if you don't know it or expect it, then you'll react with fear. You won't be of good cheer. You'll be like, hold on, be of good cheer? All that bumping and shit going around, you talk about be of good cheer? Yeah. Just like when he was on that boat. I always reference. And those guys thought they were going to die because of some turbulence. The turbulence is the thing that is causing the fear. Without the turbulence, there wouldn't be any fear. You see? So that's the test. That's the test. The test to see what? To see if you believe his words when he says, be of good cheer and fear not. Imagine having a monitor hooked up to your vitals, your heartbeat, your breathing, and all of that. And it could tell whether it was spiking based on what you were looking at. So if you became afraid, your heart rate would shoot up. All the things that happen when you become afraid would happen within your body, and it could tell. Well, when Christ says something to you like fear not, that little meter is hooked up to you, saying whether you are actually fearing or not. And so you say, I worship Christ, I follow Christ, yes. And then something happens and he says, fear not, and then you become afraid. Do you really follow him? It's like somebody says, follow my instructions. Then that means that you should probably do what they tell you to do. Well, the same thing with Christ. That's why he always says, he who keeps my saying. You see? What about that man that keeps your saying, Yahusha? I liken him to a man who built his house upon a solid rock. And the turbulence beat upon that house, but it fell not, for it was founded upon a rock. But another man went and built his house upon sandy ground. And when the turbulence came, great was the fall of that house. For it was not founded upon a solid rock, founded upon the truth. See, the feeling that you feel, is it founded upon truth? Because that determines whether your house will stand or fall. And Christ told you a lot of things that doesn't sound right to the carnal mind. But as we've already discussed, the carnal mind is hatred against God. And it's fighting against the spirit. It's hindering the spirit from believing the truth of what it's looking at. See that? That's why we're told to fight the good fight of faith. That's what you're fighting for. It's not anything carnal. You're not fighting a flesh and blood battle. You're fighting for the truth of where your mind rests. Okay, the turbulence has come. Yahusha said, relax and be of good cheer. Then that's what I do. I prove I believe him by hook me up to the vital machine and see if I'm panicking, if I'm scared, if I'm worried. If I'm not those things, then that obviously means that I actually believe what Yahusha said. Not just say I believe it, because what did Yahusha say? They honor me with their lips, but their heart. I told y'all that's what he's concerned with. They honor me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. Yes, 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 I believe you, I believe you. Okay, be of good cheer. Oh, what a horrible time I'm having. I'm so afraid. Everybody's against me and hates me. Everybody's going to destroy me. Blah, blah, blah. That's not being of good cheer. You're not responding the way I told you to respond to the circumstance. Now, of course, I told you the circumstance was coming, but why aren't you doing the reaction I told you to have? Why aren't you responding the way that I've told you to respond? Because you don't believe him. You believe the turbulence. You believe the tempest. You believe the wind and the waves. Now, I need you to get your book of Ecclesiastes, and I need you to look in there. If Solomon talks about a man putting his bread upon some water, and he looking at the clouds and the wind and the waves to determine whether he will get his bread back or not. He says, don't look at the wind and the waves to determine whether you'll get it back, because you will if you just have faith that you will. And what do you think Solomon's saying all that to tell you? He's telling you that when you have a desire in your heart, let's just say you're on that plane and you say, okay, I am already where I am traveling to by faith. So then this turbulence was just a stepping stone to get me to my destination because I'm already there. That's fighting the good fight of faith. Now, if you're already there, then you're not scared of anything that happens on that flight. But during the flight, turbulence will come to test to see. Y'all understand that? It must come. But woe unto him by which way it came. The turbulence, that is. Because in life, some turbulence is caused by manual input. You see, that's why Christ said offenses will come. They must come. But woe unto him by which they come. Putting a hindrance in somebody's path, putting turbulence on somebody's waters, which means feeding them lies. And you see it all the time. People do it all the time. And some people do it thinking they're giving sound advice. Oh man, you know what? This is happening? Well, you should do this. Okay, but that's not what Christ told me to do. Yeah, let's take Christ out of the equation though, man. You gotta live in reality, man. That's what they do. Carnal mind, see? Fighting against the spirit. I know that's what Christ said, but that ain't reality, man. That ain't gonna work right here. You need this done right now. All that sit still and wait on Christ crap, that ain't gonna work today. That's how they talk to you. Anybody who's walked by faith in a circumstance has heard that from some source. Well, that's somebody putting turbulence in your life. So that's somebody offending your life. I'm already where I'm supposed to go. You trying to tell me to pay attention to this crap right here that's going on around me? Why would I when that's not real? They don't understand that mind right there, see? What do you mean you're already there? You're sitting next to me on this plane. That's the way their mind works. Isn't that carnal to think that way? Or is that spiritual? Is that faithful to think that way? Or is that walking by sight? Because there are two types of people. Now, the two types should be made manifest by how they walk. The one who walks by faith obviously is the one that says, I'm already there. The one that walks by sight is the one that says, well, it looks like I'm sitting right here, so there's no way I'm already there if I'm right here. Those are the two minds that fight against each other. And can't you hear the bickering between them two? Can't you see what's the discrimination between the two? What's the problem, in other words? What do you mean? That sounds stupid to say you're where you're at and you're right here. That sounds stupid. Yep, enmity. I mean, don't you see why they got beef with each other? The carnal mind and the spiritual mind, now that I've gave you this analogy. It's just like when I told you guys I was locked up. And when somebody would ask me about why I was in such good cheer, why I was so light as a feather and happy and so free, what do you think my answer was? It's because I am free. That's the only way I could feel these feelings, guys. If I believed that I was bound, could I be of good cheer? So then Christ, obviously, by saying be of good cheer, is proving that you are not bound. So if you believe you are, you just don't believe him. That's all that it means. That's why he says, will the Son of Man find faith? That's what he's talking about. Someone who believes what I've told you, that you don't have to be sad because you went through something hard. You don't have to be upset because somebody used you. You don't have to become vengeful because somebody took advantage of you. Those are the things he taught us to do, because the carnal mind doesn't do that. Somebody uses you, the first thing you want to do is get back. And why do you think Christ said, you have heard it said, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. But I say unto you, see. In other words, y'all thought it was right, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. Y'all thought that that was sufficient. But let me take it further. Let me magnify it to you. See? Let me magnify it to you. Magnify the law to you, make it clear. And that's what he's doing. You have heard it said. Y'all live in a world where you hear things that sound good and it sounds right. An eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. But I say to you, man, forgive your enemies, man. Love those that do wrong to you. Pray for your enemies, man. That's what he says. And that's unnatural to the carnal mind, isn't it? Somebody just despitefully use you right in front of your face, and everybody around is expecting you to react, and you say, I forgive you. It's all right. Don't you know how unjust that dude what he just did to you, man? Everybody's all crowding around. Don't you see how unequal that is? Yeah, I see it. So does Abba. Abba said vengeance is his, right, everybody that knows God's word? Isn't that right? They all start backing up. Yeah. That's what God's word say. All right, then. So let God repay him for what he's paid to me. Abba will repay. Ain't that what he say? That prove I believe his word by faith. People that want to take the eye for themselves don't believe that God's word is true. That's all it means. They get caught up in the turbulence and they start reacting, think they're doing it right. And can't you understand why they think they're doing it right? Okay, wait. This thing is going to break if I don't start putting boards on it. So I'm going to put boards on it so that it doesn't break. That seems right to the carnal mind, and he starts laboring and doing it. But in the midst of him doing this, the damn thing still breaks. And all his labor was in vain. So it is with things in this world. To understand what you are, so you understand what your labor is. It's just like a dog. You have many breeds of dogs, right? But don't they all have a different type of labor that they do? For instance, if you have a terrier, he chases little vermin and shit, right? Little rats. He chases them off your land, goes down in the holes and in the burrows. He can get down in there because he's little and he's feisty, right? Little terrier, that's his job. But if you got a border collie, a sheepdog, what they do? Sheepdog protects sheep. Border collie, herds sheep. They know their job and they do it. See what I'm trying to say to you? Same thing with people. They have their purpose as well. And what is the purpose of a man? To fear Abba and keep his commandments. That's the whole duty of man. So if somebody starts adding something to it, they're just lying to you. Fear Abba, keep his commands, for this is the whole duty of man. So then it's not, what am I supposed to do when somebody does me wrong? Fear God and keep his commandments. That's what I'm supposed to do. What am I supposed to do when it's stormy? Fear God and keep his commandments. That's what I'm supposed to do. What I'm supposed to do when I'm broke? Fear God and keep his commandments. That's what I'm supposed to do. What am I supposed to do when I'm rich and elevated? Fear God and keep his commandments. That's what I'm supposed to do. What am I supposed to do when I'm tired and I'm hungry and I'm beat down and I'm used and despised? Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. And that's all I am supposed to do. Doesn't matter what's happening on the outside of my body. What's happening on the inside never changes, which is fear Abba and keep his commandments. And what are his commandments? Because they're not grievous at all. They're not even hard to do. When you're too busy being concerned with the well-being of your neighbor, then what happens with your life? Now, what's the greatest love? That a man give up. See how it all goes together? In order to save your brother, you have to give up your own life. That's the greatest demonstration of love that there is. And it's easy to become afraid and respond to the turbulence when I'm thinking about my own life. Now watch how this connects to what Yahusha said. He who seeks to save his life shall lose it. Legos, clickety click, snap, goes together perfectly. But a man who give up his life for my sake, he shall find his life. So if I'm sitting on the airplane screaming and hollering and grabbing on the shit because I think the plane's gonna go down and crash, then I'll just die doing that. I won't save myself or anybody. But if the plane's going down, I got a parachute. I see a child over there or an innocent person over there, a vulnerable person. I take my parachute and I put it around their shoulders and snap it and make sure that it's secure, make sure that it's in working order. And then I help them jump off the plane to safety. They use the parachute and they hit the ground. Yeah, I'm on the plane, I've died, but I found my life. I found my true life. Oh man, but it's about this flesh and blood body. Well, if it is, then how come Abba said, don't fear the man that can kill the flesh and blood body, but he can't touch your soul? You hear that? So y'all think about that today. Silouan Mr. Allah.